A spot in the Final Four on the line in Indy. Two good old buddies here, Kelvin Sampson and Rick Barnes. They go way back, but standing in one another's way to San Antonio here. Tennessee and Houston, and it is a struggle early and often for the Volunteers. Just cannot make the three-point shot here in the first half. The Volunteers missed their first 14 attempts from deep. Sampson's thinking, our plan is working perfectly, boys. Keep it going. Terrence Arsenault off the bench with a couple of big buckets. How about that big block? Malik Wilson chasing down Ziegler, and it's Arsenault again. A little step back there. Houston by 19 and more from the Cougars. LJ Cryer, he loves that little one-handed shot put there in the lane. And the foul. Team high 17 for Cryer. It's a 19-point lead for Houston at the half. Rick Barnes looking for answers going into the locker room. He would find some, and Tennessee would make this interesting. Ziegler kicks to Jordan Gainey, down 14. Now Igor Milicic, the big two-handed jam. Tennessee would get this thing down to 10 at 50-40, but that is when Emmanuel Sharp shows up big time. A three from way out, and again, it's Sharp. He shoots this thing at better than 40% for the season. He comes up with a huge second half. 14 of his 16 points scored in the final 20 minutes. And then it's Wilson. Milos Uzan back to Wilson for three. And Houston is Final Four bound, 69-50, advancing to the Final Four for the first time since 2021. If you feel like this tournament's been a little chalky, get this. You're right. Houston is the first one seed since North Carolina in 2017 to take the hardest possible seed path to the Final Four. That means they beat the 16, the 8, the 4, and now the 2 to win the regional in Indianapolis. Cryer with 17, Sharp with 16, and really defense tells the story in this one for Houston. Chris Honorado now joined by the coach, Steve Lappas, still courtside after that Houston victory. And Coach, you said right from the jump ball, this was a Cougar victory. What did they do so well today that just limited Tennessee's opportunities?
Well, you know, they're a great defensive team. Not only did they come out with great defense, but I thought Tennessee came out very tentative. So that's a bad combination, and that's why they really got off to that kind of a bad start. And coming back against a team like Houston is not easy. They only average 9 turnovers a game. It's tough to speed them up. It's tough to turn them over. And then they weren't able to keep them off the offense. They were better in the second half, but weren't able to keep them off the offensive glass. It was just, Houston was just too good today on both ends.
Coach, if Auburn wins, Houston would really be the contrasting style of the Final Four, and obviously it's Duke that sits ahead of this Cougars team first. What gives you hope, if you're a Houston fan, that you can find a way to knock off Cooper Flagg and company?
Well, you make a great point, Chris. They are definitely the outlier when it comes to style. Those are 3 teams that want to get it up and score 90 or even 100, as we've seen. So I think the thing about Houston, though, is because they don't turn the ball over, because they're very tough to speed up, the tempo of the game is going to be a lot slower than Duke's going to want. And that's the kind of thing that Houston can do to you. And they're tough, they're physical, so they're not going to back down. I think that has potential to be a really good game. But it's not going to be played high scoring. This one's going to be played. If Houston's going to win, this game has to be at the most in the low 70s, and I think they can do that.
And, Coach, maybe this is the version of Houston we've been waiting to see the last few years when injuries didn't get in the way for the Cougars. How about just the job Kelvin Sampson's doing now, 69 years old, back to the Final Four for the second time in 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good for him because, you know, we're about the same age. I'm a little older. But, you know, it's great to see. He's been one of the great coaches, you know what I mean, of all time. And he's done an unbelievable job at Houston. So to see him get back to the Final Four, Houston, if they don't win it, they're going to have gone to the Final Four more than anybody else without winning the championship. So this is the time. This is the opportunity for them. They're in the Final Four. This is the time to do it.
College basketball fans know when Catalan and Lappas are on the call, something weird or wild might happen, whether it's a 16 beating a 1 or a cheerleader saving the day. But no epic comeback today from Tennessee with Andrew and Steve courtside. Coach, thank you so much for being with us here on CBS Sports HQ. And the coach referenced those trips to the Final Four without a national title, 7 of them for Houston. Another trip back now in 2025. Just in here to HQ, Rick Barnes meeting with the media after losing here in the Elite Eight. Let's listen to the Volunteers head coach.
They were Houston. They do what they do. That's why they're where they are. That's where the standard of their program. First half obviously got away from us. Their second chance opportunities were big, and we felt like we got some shots, but we didn't obviously knock down some of those early, but we weren't able to get anything really inside. Again, the second chance points early, when you're shooting as poorly as we were, those are hard. Those second chance points are hard to overcome, but just incredibly blessed and grateful to have a chance to sit here with this group of guys. And there's 10,000 coaches that would love to be where we are right now, even though we're disappointed in our loss. Players would like to be sitting here. When you've got two guys in particular that have been with us 4 years, and Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack, who I think we look back, they'll be the two most accomplished Tennessee Volunteer players ever. We owe it to them to continue with the standard that they have set and even take it to another level. Our goal, like every team, would be to get back here and move forward. But again, with Jordan coming in and just became a part of the fabric very quickly, it's tough, obviously, because as badly as we all want it, it always hurts if you don't get it all. But I do know this team gave us every possible thing they could every day in practice. They represent the University of Tennessee the way we want it representative. And again, I can only count it as a major blessing from God that I've got to spend the time I have with two of these guys for 4 years, and then Jordan for the last 2. And the other guys in the locker room with the transfer portal, some of them never been through this, never been part of the NCAA tournament, came in, bought into their role. Our walk-ons did an incredible job. This year, being down to 9 scholarship players and someday only having 8 guys in practice. Again, we talk about a team, but this group truly did, and it's overused sometimes, but they really did become a family, and they care about each other, and they fought to the very end for each other.
Questions, please, for Coach or the student athletes. Please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation and to whom the question is directed.
Thank you. Jill Jelnick, Fox 17 Sports in Nashville for Zakai and Jemai. How do you balance the highs from this season with also the heartbreak from today?
Zakai?
Well, we've done some things this season that some people can never say they've done in their life. Making March Madness, it's a huge blessing. Making the Elite Eight, Sweet 16, round of 32. We did some things that people could never in their life say they even got close to. I'm just thankful, really, that I've been able to be around guys like this and be coached by the coaches that's been here with me. We had some highs and some lows this season, but I don't feel like we folded at all through it all. We wavered through it all, and we all really became a brotherhood. When we first got together this season, it was weird. It was weird, and it was a lot of different personalities. And for it to get to this point, and for everybody on this team to be able to call them brothers and to actually mean it and mean something to me, like these are people that I'm going to talk to for the rest of my life. People that I love. These are my brothers, and today we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, and it it was all a part of God's plan. And, you know, we're thankful for the opportunities and all the blessings that we went through this whole season. You know, a lot of people don't really realize everything that we've been through. But God's transferring, God's people getting hurt. You know, someday in practice, you know, getting down to 8 scholarship guys, 7 scholarship guys, and not realizing that we're saying this to y'all, but y'all don't realize how hard that really is for each and every one of us, including the coaches. So, you know, I love these guys to death. They're people that changed my life, you know, and, you know, I just love these guys to death, and I'm just thankful that I was a part of a team like this.
Jemai.
You know, so I was going to do this if we won. You know, I told myself I was going to do this when we won. Or if we lost, I'm going to give all the glory to God. The head of my life, He's put me in this situation, and I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't do that first and foremost, whether I lost, won, whatever. You know, it's really hard to say or think about any of the highs just because I wanted to win so bad, you know, especially for these guys right here, for the Vol fan base. You know, it's hard. You know, I've been telling everybody since I got here, like, you know, it's something that we represent, but like it's something that I've always done my whole life. Like, it's really not about me. I don't care about getting any of the glory. I don't care about getting any of the accolades, nothing like that. I just care about, you know, really shining a light on this guy right here, shining a light on these two right here, because I see him put in so much work. I seen Coach Barnes be the most consistent person every time. Even though we fight, we get into it, you know. It just seems like, you know, we don't want to talk to each other anymore, but we go right back to practice. We get right back to coaching me like he loves to coach me. He knows how much I put in his game. But I wanted to get there for him, you know. I really wanted people to realize how good of a coach he is. You know, sometimes communication can be off sometimes, you know, between him and the players, and, you know, that happens. But, man, I wanted to get there for him. I wanted to get there for the Vol fans, man. I wanted them to be have something that they could be proud of. You know what I mean? And it's hard. You know, it's hard, but we're going to have to fight through it. These are guys that's, you know, my brothers for life. It feels weird not being able to play with Zakai anymore. You know, been doing it for 4 years. It's been my guy for 4 years. I'm never going to play with nobody like him, man. You know, like, that's my brother. We get into it a lot. We joke around with each other a lot. He knows I joke with him. He jokes with me. It's just how we bond. But, right, I don't take that for granted. Like, he's going to be my brother for life, man. And same thing with Jordan. One of the easiest guys to talk to. One of the easiest guys to get along with. And it's just tough, man. But, yeah, I love these guys, man.
Right over here, Dave.
This is for Jordan. I'm Dave Reinhardt, WCBK Radio. Jordan, a tale of two halves. Scoring hard to come by in that first half. You played around 12, 13 minutes, had 4 points. In the second half, a few more minutes than that, but got double-digit numbers in 13 for 17 in the game. Just your thoughts on the difference between first half and second half. Jordan.
We really started being more aggressive, getting downhill in the second half, and just playing basketball freely. You know, getting the ball side to side on the court is what we do, and we did that in the second half, and good things happened.
Right here.
Liv Clements, Indiana University, and for Zakai, it's been an amazing career for you in Knoxville, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, SEC record holder for assists. I mean, what can you say about your legacy at Tennessee and the stamp you're leaving in Knoxville?
Zakai.
Well, coming in to Knoxville, I really didn't have any expectations of doing something like that. You know, all I did was ask Coach Barnes for a chance, and he gave it to me. And, you know, the mark that, I wouldn't even say the mark that I left on Tennessee, but the mark that they left on me and my family, you know, they they changed our lives, really. And, I'm just so thankful for each and every person that's a part of our nation. I'm so thankful for the coaches. I'm so thankful for my teammates. So thankful for everybody that's a part of Tennessee as a whole. Accolades, I couldn't do anything like that without my teammates. I couldn't do anything like that without my coaches. The mark that Tennessee has left on me is really crazy to just think about. It's been the best 4 years of my life. Changed my life. And, I feel like Knoxville is a place that I'll call home forever. So everything that I've done there and everything that they've done for me has been nothing less than great. And I wouldn't even say ups and downs. Everything has just been up, really. Ball Nation, I love you guys, and I appreciate everything they've done for me and my family. Appreciate the coaches and appreciate my teammates.
We have time for about three more questions or so right here.
Rob Lewis with VolQuest.com. Coach, just as well as you guys handled Friday night, did you feel like that first half could happen as good as you played under the pressure?
No, I don't think you expect it to happen. Again, I thought our coaches did the job that they always do, preparing our guys, and we came out, and again, we knew it would be difficult. We knew that they had an inside-out game, and we often, you look at our team, mostly perimeter-oriented. We knew there'd be a strong focus there. We knew they would honestly do exactly what they did, but we've dealt with it this year, and you're hoping that you're making some of those shots. But when you're not, you don't want to give up and we know that they're an outstanding rebounding team. You take away just half of those in the first half, and you make a couple, and we had some looks. We didn't make them, but that's part of it. But even with that said, I still felt at halftime if we could go back and put some things together. But it's hard when you're not able to go inside and get some easier baskets or put some pressure on the rim. We have to do that with our penetration game too, trying to get fouled. And then obviously they keyed heavily on our their guards. But no, I don't think you come out thinking it could happen. You're coming out expecting to play at a high level. But we've been down before, and I knew the one thing I did know, I knew our guys wouldn't quit playing. We knew we were going to have to start scrambling, and because if you really watch the game closely, Houston's a possession team. They're going to come down, and they're not worried about getting down the floor quick. They're going to run their sets, and we wanted to try to take advantage of that first 10 seconds or 15 seconds in the clock and try to speed them up and maybe turn them over. But the shots they hit there at the end when we'd cut it down, that's the one you're giving up and hope that they don't make it. But they did. And but again, the effort was there. And again, I'm just feel so hurt for these guys because again, I know they wanted to do better and play better.
We got time for two more right here, one in the room and one on Zoom.
Coach, Dave Reinhardt, WCBK Radio. Threes were hard to come by that first half. Ziegler hit one with 30 seconds to go. And, of course, Houston came out and scored real quick, 21 down. And then you outscored them 18-10. Just talk about the drive and your players, as you just commented about, they never quit.
Well, again, if you know these guys, and we see it every day in practice, and again, I've said it before, it's a blessing when you get to go to practice and not have to coach effort from your best players for certain. They're the ones that everybody looks at, but when you go out, that would be the least thing on my mind with these guys. This is never going to be about effort. It was going to be about them getting their teammates to understand the effort they had to play with to get us where we needed to go. And so when we were down, all you got to do is look in their eyes to know that, they're disappointed, but they want to keep fighting. They want to keep doing it. And it's like when Z came off, it hurt me because I know how much he cared. He said, "I'm sorry," but he's got nothing to be sorry about. I mean, because he gave us everything. And what Shaq said, I know those guys. They know I'm an older guy. They know they love to win a national championship, but they have absolutely not one thing to hang their head down or be sorry about, because they have truly have. You know, we have a slogan at Tennessee: "Give your all for Tennessee." They did that in more ways than you can imagine, and I knew that regardless if we were down 20, 25, they were going to continue to give their all for the University of Tennessee, because they are such a huge part of where this program is right now.
I have a concluding question via.
Oh, the emotions are so real, so raw following a loss in the Elite Eight there by some of the seniors, including Zakai Ziegler and the head coach Rick Barnes, who referenced his age and wanting to get to a Final Four, let alone win a national championship. Look at the tale of two halves here. Down 19 at the break and then played Houston even in that second half. But obviously that was not good enough for Tennessee against the Cougars, the 1 seed, going to the Final Four. Chris Honorado, Kyle Boone, Matt McCall with you here on CBS Sports HQ. Coach Lappas said during the broadcast that this was a tough go for Tennessee from the jump ball, Matt. From a coaching perspective, you're a coach. What did Houston do so well today?
First of all, they're going to the Final Four. Can we get Coach Sampson a better polo for the Final Four?
That's what I'm saying, man.
We're talking about it off the air. Can we get him a nicer car? Going to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Look, they won this game in the first half. There's no question about it. I mean, to hold Tennessee to just 15 points in the first half, it was an offensive struggle all game long. They didn't get their best stuff from Zakai Ziegler. They needed Chaz Lanier and Zakai Ziegler to both play like all-league players, and they just didn't have their stuff today. Yes, you have to give credit to the Houston defense. There'll be some possessions on the offensive end of the floor that Tennessee will definitely wish they could get back, but the first half is what lost them this game. 15 points in the first half. With 5 minutes to go in the first half, they had 5 points. So Houston's defense, give them credit. They've been the best defense in the entire country all season long. It gets them to this Final Four. But hats off to Tennessee on a great season.
And Kyle, in the moments in the second half where Houston could have gotten tight, and maybe did to some degree, they didn't show it enough. And as we showed everybody, Manuel Sharp was huge in that little stretch there in the second half, knocking down 3 threes.
Several key shots down the stretch for Houston's backcourt. They've come up big time and time again, right? As they put away this one, Emmanuel Sharp with a couple of big threes. LJ Cryer made a couple of big shots. And if you're going to start out slow against any team, you don't want to start out slow against this Houston team. Tennessee missed 11 of its first 12 shot attempts. In this game, Houston so poised down the stretch, only had 4 turnovers in the second half, and that was with Tennessee applying full court pressure, playing with a ton of urgency. Houston just so poised, able to close this one out with some big shots, some free throws. No surprise here, 69-50 win for the Cougars.
And the other piece of it, too, is you look at the stat sheet, Houston only shoots 4 free throws. 4 free throws, and they win the game by 19.
Yeah.
That's amazing, just because the more field goal attempts. They had 14 more field goal attempts than Tennessee did in this game.
And that speaks to the lack of turnovers, right?
That's exactly right.
Houston is kind of the outlier from what we're seeing of the Final Four as it starts to formulate here a little bit, right? I mean, they're not afraid to win ugly. Can you win ugly against what might be ahead of them in terms of Duke, and then the other side of the bracket, Auburn and Florida?
I mean, I think you can win.
Unless it's Sparties, of course. I'm not discounting Michigan State here.
In there, right? I mean,
Michigan State would fit the mold of Houston here too, right? They're tough, and they don't necessarily shoot the ball all that well either.
Look, I agree with Coach Lappas. We talk so much about Auburn. We talk so much about Duke. We talk so much about Florida.
Yeah.
This is a 1 seed that we need to probably talk more about. This was a dismantling of a very good Tennessee team that we saw win a lot of games in the best conference in the country. Tennessee won a lot of basketball games in the best conference in the country, got all the way to the SEC tournament final, and they dismantled them today. So when you look at that, look, they get a week to prepare for the Duke Blue Devils. That defense that pick and roll coverage, they'll be prepared to play against Cooper Flag.
This is Houston team, by the way, #1 in three-point shooting percentage on the season. Go back to just a few years ago. Reminds me a little bit of the Baylor Bears. They were the #1 three-point shooting team in college basketball. When they won the national championship in 2021, they had a complementary defense that was very opportunistic, similar to this Houston team. This Houston team is going to give anyone fits just with their physicality, their defense, their ability to generate second chance points on the offensive glass. Houston going to the second Final Four in the last 5 seasons under Kelvin Sampson says a lot about this program, what he's built in Houston.
Everyone was concerned that they were changing leagues. How in the world are they going to win games going to the Big 12? How are they going to do that? They'll be just fine.
Cougars have 3 guys who shoot the 3 better than 40%. Kyle, to your point there, 10-0, now 11-0 in their last 11, and 30-3 guys when they commit fewer turnovers than their opponent. Obviously, that was a big factor here today as well. Kelvin Sampson beats his buddy Rick Barnes, who, by all reports, they go back at least 50 years or so. I mean, I can't simplify it as, well, Kelvin knows Rick's style, right? I mean, that's not what today boiled down to, correct? Is we see Kelvin Sampson, now 69 years old, headed to the Final Four. And one more note here on Sampson. He's second on the active wins list without a title. Who's #1? Rick Barnes. Wow. So Sampson could get off the schneid by going to San Antonio and finding a way to win a title here for Houston. And okay, a little more context to a trip to the Final Four. Most Final Four appearances without a title. That belongs to Houston. So Sampson in search of the title. Houston looking to get there as well. All right, so Duke is next. Play this out for me a little bit. You said they've got a week to prepare and they might need it for what Duke is doing. And I know we talk so much about Cooper Flag, but the tournament Tyrese Proctor is having is really something else. And then when you look at the size inside that Duke has, can they match up to this Houston team?
They can definitely match up to this Houston team. There's no question about it. I mean, the average margin of victory of Duke in this NCAA tournament, the way that they played in this NCAA tournament, everyone wants to talk about, oh, the ACC, and Duke's not going to be prepared to win games in the tournament because of the ACC. Duke's prepared just fine. And the competitiveness of Cooper Flag. To me, that doesn't get talked about enough, because in today's day and age in college basketball, there's all these agents, there's all these handlers, there's all these people that are getting around these kids that are saying, hey man, don't risk it. Don't play in that first round game. That ankle might not be where it needs to be. Don't play it. And you know what? That guy is a competitor. And you couple that with his pure natural ability, that is a dangerous, that's a 9-time NBA All-Star, in my opinion, in Cooper Flag. And then this Duke team, the confidence that they play with on the offensive end of the floor, the way they shoot it from behind the perimeter. We've seen Conklin this entire season just continue to make big shot after big shot after big shot. Even when Cooper Flag was out with that injury, this team is dangerous. But they're going to have to find ways to attack this Houston defense. You look at that game versus Tennessee today, Houston, their rotations out of double teams, their rotations when they commit to the basketball, Tennessee had nowhere to drive because they're so good at that. That's what Duke has to prepare for. And when you get an open shot, like Duke's done all season long, but when you get an open shot, you have to take it and you have to shoot it with confidence.
It's not just Cooper Flag. Obviously, Cooper Flag is the potential player of the year, the best player, the best passer on that team, I think the best rebounder. They've got Conklin, they've got Tyrese Proctor, they've got Kamen Malowich, all playing at their highest level right now in the NCAA tournament. The supporting cast around Flag, I think, is the best supporting cast. And Tommy Lloyd, after losing earlier this week to Duke, said it's not just that Cooper Flag is amazing, because yes, he is, but it's that the pieces fit around Cooper Flag. They have the supporting cast, the playmaking, the passing, the shooting, the lob threats, and the defense to go around. So it is going to be a huge test, obviously, for Houston. Houston presents a real challenge, I think, for Duke as well. Their physicality, I don't know if they've played a team that's as physical as Houston is. So this will be a really interesting matchup, Duke versus Houston in the Final Four.
And I think Duke's defense, Kyle, to your point, doesn't get talked about enough because they score in the 80s with such frequency. Okay, Matt, Kyle says all the pieces around Cooper Flag fit so well. How do you game plan, though, to try to stop Cooper Flag? You also heard he's maybe the best passer on this team.
Well, I think if you're Houston, you can't deviate from what has gotten you to this point. You can't deviate from what's gotten you to a Final Four, and that has been your defense. That has been your pick and roll coverage. You know, Coach Sampson has a saying when it comes to ball screen coverage. We have to be above the line of scrimmage. That's what he calls it. He calls it the line of scrimmage.
I love that.
He uses a football term to talk how we're going to guard pick and rolls. That, to me, just shows you how physical they are. Don't deviate from what you've done. Don't deviate from that defense being the best defense in the entire country. When you commit to the basketball, your rotations, playing out of those rotations, Duke's going to try to take advantage of it. They're going to try to drive those closeouts. But Houston's so good when they put you in rotations because they're so good at closing out. I don't think you can just scheme. You can't just scheme for Cooper Flagg. You have to do what's gotten you to this point in time in the season.
And it's gotten them all the way to the Final Four. Pretty impressive run here by Houston, and they're healthy this year too, which, as we've seen in other tournaments, if they were only healthy, well, they are this year. And how about this? Duke with a close one over Houston last year, 54-51. And again, first national title on the line here for the Cougars as they get ready to take on another 1 seed, Duke. Houston is headed to the Final Four. We've completed 3 of the 4 legs to this puzzle piece. Going to San Antonio, and Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars do it in impressive fashion. A dominating victory, really, start to finish. And there's no Gatorade there, or Powerade, I should say. It is an NCAA event. Just some confetti. Evan Washburn is standing by with the coach.
Congratulations, headed back to the Final Four. A lot to choose from in this game. What do you appreciate most about how you won it?
I think, you know, it's all about the journey to me. You know, we started the first week in June. Our guys out there running 100-yard dashes on the baseball field at 6:30 when nobody was around. But, you know, we always talk about prepare for the moments when nobody's around, for the moments when everybody is. And now everybody knows about Houston basketball. I'm proud of our culture, proud of our past players, proud of our current players, just proud of our program. We represent an awesome city and an awesome university, and couldn't be more proud. But especially for these kids, I'm proud for them.
What makes this group special that's heading to San Antonio?
Maturity. I think our maturity with our leaders. They care more about winning than they do statistics. And they allow me to coach them the way I want to coach them. I think that's important. You know, we recruit these young men because they're high character, and we tell them it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but you have to choose hard, and they do. And that's why I love them.
Coach, congratulations, another Final Four.
Okay,
let's get Emmanuel in here. Emmanuel, congratulations, headed to the Final Four, my friend. What happened in the second half? What got into you in the second 20 minutes?
I don't know. My Coach Kellen, he said somebody's about to step up and make a big shot. He said I got to be fearless. And, you know, the rest of the – stop, bro. We're not doing that. You know, the rest of the guys, you know, we all played fearless. LJ, Milos, Joe, Malik. That big shot Malik got hit in the head, almost had a concussion. He came out here and balled out. We love him.
You told us yesterday this game was going to be a fist fight. How did you win the fist fight against a really quality Tennessee team?
First 10 minutes. You know, we knew we had to come out and deliver the first punch, and that's what we did. You know, we came out with crazy intensity, and that's what this team does.
What is this group that likes to have some fun have in store for Duke in San Antonio?
Man, we'll figure it out when we get there.
Sounds like a plan. Enjoy.
All right, thank you.
Well, good luck to Evan trying to get that done. Houston players layering Coach Sampson and then Sharp in towels like they're Notre Dame players putting down jerseys for Rudy. Most Final Four appearances in the last 5 years. Houston's got a couple of them to go along with Duke, their next opponent, and of course UConn, which won back-to-back national championships. Chris Honorado, Kyle Boone, Matt McCall, back with you here on HQ. All right, Coach Sampson clearly enjoying it a little bit, not enough to put a hat on.
I thought he was trying to cover up his shirt. I thought they were trying to cover up the polo.
We would sign up for that.
We got to get him a new polo.
We would sign up for that. This is a formal affair, the Final Four. It's got to be a suit or something, right?
No suit. We can go quarters in, but get the man a new polo. Like when he puts that on and he tucks his shirt in to get ready to coach the game, you think he looks at his collar and says, maybe
No, he thinks I'm comfortable enough to win right?
That's
today.
exactly right.
And that's exactly what happened today, 69-50 in favor of Houston. What does this say about the job Kelvin Sampson continues to do at a program like Houston? Matt, as you pointed out, changing conferences and still winning.
Culture. You hear all these coaches throw out the term culture, culture, culture. This is what we're going to be about. These are our core values. But if everyone within your organization is not living and breathing and dying by those core values every single day, culture means nothing. Words on a wall mean nothing. But when you watch this team play, when you watch them celebrate this victory and how they celebrate each other's success, that is culture. It doesn't matter what league, what conference this Houston team is playing in. As long as he is their head coach, they will have that culture and they will continue to win basketball games at a high level.
Kyle, this is a program where we've said, if only, because of health over the last couple of years. Well, they're healthy and they're playing to the potential, are they not?
They are, absolutely. And the culture has absolutely brought them to this point. Very much an old school coach.
Yep.
Someone who, you know, when you ask about what do you value in recruiting, what do you value when you're putting a roster together, it's character. What is your history like? How do your coaches see you? And, you know, earlier this week he talked about like some things that he's looking for. He doesn't want to recruit problems. And that's what he looks for. He looks for guys who have high character, who can play within his system, who know the fundamentals. Rick Barnes earlier this week talked about the preparation that Houston does. And they do a bubble drill. It's called a bubble drill.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They actually put a lid on the basketball.
Players hate it.
Players hate it.
Players hate it.
But it hammers home. Got to get on the glass, got to get on the boards, and it's just the consistency that Sampson has hammered into this team over and over again. They're playing at among the highest level the last few years in college basketball. Now they're going back to the Final Four.
Yeah, back to the Final Four to take on Duke. Malawatch will be waiting for that bubble drill to see how good Houston is at chasing down rebounds, won't they, Matt?
No question. When that bubble goes up, though, players get really, really concerned because they know exactly what's coming. And they can't wait for the bubble to come down because when the bubble's up, you don't get to score. You don't get to score points. But, look, this is going to be a great basketball game. You got really two conflicting styles. You have, you know, one of the best offenses in the country and the best defense in the country. This will be interesting to see the chess match between these two coaches. How do they scheme? How do they game plan? But also stick to what has got them to this point.
All right, so Houston's going to play a Final Four game in their home state. First team ever from Texas to play a Final Four game in the state of Texas. How big of a deal? We'll talk a lot about this over the next week, right? Home court advantage, the home crowd. How many people did we say fit into the Alamo? 73,000 people. How many will be wearing Houston red? How big of a deal is that, Matt?
Well, I don't think it's that big of a deal because, look, when your team makes it to the Final Four, however many tickets are allotted to your team and your program, that's how many people are showing up. So there's really no home court advantage. What happens is when you lose,
there you go.
Then they buy those tickets up, much like I'm sure Auburn today in the game we're getting ready to watch here has bought up a lot of those tickets for the teams that are leaving Atlanta. There's no home court advantage in the Final Four because everyone's going to have the same amount of fans. That's why it makes it one of the best sporting events in all the world. So I don't think they'll have they just have to travel the shortest.
Yeah.
They don't have to take a charter flight. They're going to be on a bus, and they'll have to travel the shortest, which may be a little bit of an advantage because you get a little more rest time. But look, it's the Final Four. In terms of home court, there is no home court. When you walk out in that arena and you see the fans at your open practice and you walk out into that elevated court, it's a feeling like no other.
And I would say, actually, I think in Houston, Duke may have more fans in this game. This is a Duke team that is a national brand.
Sure.
People love Duke, or they love to hate Duke, but they love to watch them regardless, right? And I actually think this is one of the more likable Duke teams that we've seen in the last few years. I can't believe I just said that, but Cooper Flagg, Kama Malawash, the way that they play, the style they play, very fun to watch. And of course, Houston, the way they win, just their physicality. They can grind you out, just completely erased a Tennessee team today. It's going to make for a really fun game in Houston and Duke.
3-1 seeds through so far to the Final Four, Houston being the third. Will there be a fourth? Again, Duke has the most recent victory in these head-to-head meetings. That was the Sweet 16 last year. Just a 54-51. I think we're going to see more points this time around. What do you guys think?